Please support the bar by subscribe, and sharing my cast. Follow my social media at Facebook, Instagram, Gab, Parlor, BitChute, YouTube, DLive, Twitch, CLOUTHUB, and Rumble, or join my Subscribe Star. Make a donation by clicking on the links on the description box. I am a listener-supported show, so any of the above is greatly appreciated. Help me grow and spread the truth, since the mainstream media obviously does not want to support truth. All links are listed on the description box. God bless you and enjoy.
Welcome to the Speak Uneasy, a safe space where cancel culture does not exist, because we are in a different prohibition era.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Speak Uneasy, and I am your host, the Bartender. So we're going to go ahead and start the show off with, as we always do, with our random read of the night. And boy, did I pick a really good one tonight. This one comes from the first book of Peter, chapter 5, verse 1 through verse 11. Be subject one to another. The elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder, and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed. Feed the flock of God which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind, neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being ensamples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For God resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Once again, this comes from the first book of Peter, chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. Be subject to one another. Now, as I read this is things that I've been talking about ever since, right? Be humble, pick each other up, be there for one another, praise together, give all glory to God together. We are the church. I have been pushing this ever since. Our faith has to be in God, because he is the one that's deciding everything that happens in this world. Yes, he may use certain people to move certain pieces to get things done here, but ultimately it is God who is moving things and making things happen. Yes, we have to be humble. And I've been stressing that for a long time. Don't be proud. This is a very good read. This is a very good read. Especially those of us who have known what's been going on in this country. It is our duty. It is our duty to give knowledge to those who don't have the knowledge. But at the same time, the people who have no knowledge of what's going on need to willingly listen. We can't force them to we can't force the truth upon them. Okay? It is the free will of them. If they are willing to listen, then we must speak and tell them. Just like the Lord's word, we always have to tell people who are willing to listen, because it's free will that makes the difference. That's what makes it the good quality, because they are willing to listen and willing to accept. So that's my take of tonight's random read. Now, for tonight's cocktail. Tonight, we'll be making a Moscow Mule. Nothing special about this drink. We're going to highball it inside a copper mug. So make sure you guys have a copper mug when you make this drink. So we're going to pretty much just make it in the cup. No shaking, no stirring. It's just going to be all in the cup. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put ice in our copper mug, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm putting ice in my copper mug. Okay? Putting all that ice in there. Next, I'm going to put about 2.5 ounces of vodka. And tonight, the vodka that I'm using is Stolichnaya. Okay? The Stoli vodka. This is like Russian stuff. And how funny is that for conservative people who support Trump, right? I'm using Russian vodka. So we're going to go ahead and pour about 2.5 ounces of that. Got one in there. Got two in there. I got 2.5 in there. Now, the next ingredient that I have for this is going to be ginger beer. Okay. Let me get back. Hold on. I still have to get a couple things. Just give me a minute and I'll be right back. Now, the ginger beer that I have is by Fever Tree. Okay? We're going to go about... We're going to pour in there the ginger beer. And I put the whole thing in there, okay? The whole bottle of ginger beer. And then on top of that, I got lime. We're going to squeeze the lime. I have half a lime, and I split it in two. So we're going to go ahead and squeeze all the lime in there. Squeeze the lime juice. And then we're going to put the squeezed lime inside. We're just going to throw it in there. Same thing with the other half of it. All right. That's about squeezed over there. Bam. Now I have everything in this copper mug. Now, mind you that this is a very dangerous drink because you won't taste the vodka, to be honest. You'll taste a lot of the ginger beer. A problem with that is, man, you keep drinking and it'll hit you. It'll hit you out of nowhere. So here it is. Let's give it a taste. I got the Moscow Mule. Cheers. Ooh. I don't taste vodka at all. Very dangerous. Very dangerous drink. Very dangerous. So, I'm getting a lot of the ginger beer and the lime. I don't taste the vodka at all. It's buried in there somewhere. But like I said, what I said, the more if you keep drinking this thing, it's gonna hit you. It's gonna hit you out of nowhere. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, but this is a great drink. This is a very good drink. Okay. So here's a little history on the Moscow Mule, and this is from Wikipedia. Moscow Mule is a cocktail made with vodka, spicy ginger beer, and lime juice, garnished with a slice of wedge of lime. This is what I did. I squeezed my lemon lime and I just threw it in there. It is a type of buck, therefore sometimes called a vodka buck. The Moscow Mule is popularly served in a copper mug, which takes the cold temperature of the liquid. Some public health advisories recommend copper mugs be plated with nickel or stainless steel on the inside of the lip, but it has been disputed whether the time and acidity involved in drinking a Moscow Mule would be enough to leach out the 30 milligrams of copper per liter needed to cause per copper toxicity. The Mule was born in Manhattan but stalled on the West Coast for the duration. The birthplace of Moscow Mule was in New York's Chatham Hotel. That was back in 1941 when the first carload of Jack Morgan's Cock and Bull ginger beer was railing over the plains to give New Yorkers a happy surprise. The Violet family helped. 3 friends were in Chatham Bar. One, John A. Morgan, known as Jack, president of Cock and Bull Products and owner of Hollywood Cock and Bull's restaurant. One was John G. Martin, president of G.F. Hubline Brothers, Inc. of Hartford, Connecticut. And the third was Rudolph Kunit, president of the Pierre Smirnoff Hubline's vodka division. As Jack Morgan tells it, we 3 are quaffing a slug, nibbling an oars, devour, and shoving toward inventive genius. Martin Kunit had their minds on their vodka and wondering what would happen if a 2-ounce shot joined with Morgan's ginger beer, and the squeeze of a lemon. Ice was ordered, lemons procured, mugs ushered in, and the concoction put together. Cups were raised, the men counted 5, and down went the first taste. It was good. It lifted the spirit of adventure. 4 or 5 days later, the mixture was christened the Moscow Mule. And that's the history of the Moscow Mule. Once again, cheers. And on to the show. So today I have a couple articles, and I also want to go review an executive order which was passed or actually issued on May 28th of last year in regards to the online censorship. But first, as we always do with the articles, I'm on one of my favorite sites here called stupid.news. And I found an article here that was written on the 3rd of this month and this year. And it reads, this is going to be by Zoe Sky. That's the person who wrote the article. It says here, Cuomo, New York needs to raise taxes to offset $8.7 billion deficit because of the pandemic lockdowns he ordered himself. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. This jerk off. Okay, I haven't even read the article. I'm already putting my opinions out there. Okay, here we go. Several months after Governor Andrew Cuomo rejected calls for tax hikes and begged the rich to return to New York, to return to New York, the governor is now saying that the city has to increase taxes to offset an $8.7 billion deficit caused by the Charlie Victor 19 pandemic. Scamdemic, actually. New York will suffer if Congress doesn't help, says Cuomo. On December 9th, Cuomo warned that New York would be forced to lay off thousands of workers, increase taxes, fares, tolls, and government borrowing if devastating consequences if Congress doesn't help the state. Why is it Congress's responsibility to help that state after he's destroyed his own state? I don't understand this. But then again, he's a Democrat, and I don't understand Democrats. Democrat Cuomo also said that the state needs to raise taxes even if federal aid was approved to plug its current projected deficit bill to $30 billion for the next 2 years. During a briefing with reporters, the governor said that even if Congress lends aid to New York, the state will still need to redo a budget. While there's no question that state taxes have to be raised, Cuomo expressed doubts as to how much taxes will increase. However, Cuomo and aides didn't clarify where the hikes would hit specifically. On Friday, December 11th, Cuomo joined other Democratic governors who closed down restaurants, even though there wasn't enough proof that they are linked to an increase in Charlie Victor 19 cases. Their shutdowns have affected minorities in the hardest and are increasing economic inequality. Within the last few weeks, Democratic governors in Michigan, Illinois, Oregon, and Washington have also shut down indoor dining. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Bang Your Wife Newsom has banned outdoor patios in several areas. I just wanted to let you know that I put that AKA in there. That was an ad lib because that's what he's known for. Okay. On Monday, December 14th, Cuomo shut down indoor dining in New York City. State contact tracing data reveals that restaurants and bars account for only 1.4% of the virus spread in the state. On the other hand, household gatherings make up nearly a shocking 74% of cases. This makes sense since New York restaurants were limited to 25% capacity. This is exactly what happens when you shut it down, you dummy. But homeowners don't limit capacity in their living rooms when hosting parties. Restaurants and other small businesses have spent a lot of money to comply with government Charlie Victor 19. They purchase personal protective equipment for staff and pay for improved ventilation systems. Unfortunately, the restaurants and small are being pushed because the government can handle the pandemic while Democratic leaders are trying to act like they're doing something for their constituents. Yeah, they sure are doing something. They're ruining their lives Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan recently suggested increasing the state's flat income tax rate of 4.95%. But last November, voters nixed his public union machine by rejecting a progressive tax referendum. Cuomo also said that general tax increases would hurt families and hurt the economy. This guy's an idiot. This guy's an idiot. I still have about a couple paragraphs to read, but I had to stop because this dude is a freaking idiot, man. He's got a bunch of people leaving that state. I mean, you can increase taxes all you want, but when you don't have any more people living there, what's the point? What's the point of increasing taxes when there's nobody there to pay them? Freaking idiot, man. What a dumbass. How do these people get into positions of power? Honestly. I mean, even if they were selected by powers that be, why do they select these dummies? Let me continue read. A Democratic shift in tone. The announcement is a complete about-face for Cuomo since he first opposed suggestions of raising taxes on the state's wealthiest residents, claiming this would drive billionaires out for good. You think? You dummy? You think? Early in 2020, thousands of New Yorkers fled Manhattan and Brooklyn when New York became the Charlie Victor epicenter of the world. Back in May, at least 420,000 of the city's top 1 to 2% who were responsible for 50% of the state's income tax fled. What did you think was going to happen, dude? What did you think was going to happen? New York's richest headed to their second homes in the Hamptons or upstate. Others rented or bought new properties and left their expensive city apartments because they were worried about a tax hike. Of course, they're going to get a tax hike. In July, New Yorkers joined a March on Billionaires, where participants bore place cards telling Cuomo to tax the rich. Even here we go, man. Even Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who represents parts of the Bronx and Queens, took to Twitter to encourage Cuomo to pass a billionaire's tax. Oh, gosh, dude. Here's her quote. It's time, this is quotes, this is her. It's time to stop protecting billionaires, and it's time to start working for working families. That's her quotes. However, by August, Cuomo was asking wealthy New Yorkers to return to the city to save it. Save it? From economic ruin, while disagreeing with other lawmakers who wanted to raise the taxes. At a press conference, Cuomo explained that he was constantly encouraging wealthy New York residents to return, even joking that he also offered to cook for them and buy them a drink. What a freaking douchebag. Yet Cuomo is now asking the federal government to send more help to various states, but his request remains unfulfilled while lawmakers struggle to find common ground on a stimulus package. Tax the rich. Ocasio-Cortez is also asking voters to pressure both Cuomo and state lawmakers to approve at least $50 billion in tax hikes on the wealthy to prevent deep service cuts to schools and the needy. Doing so can also help offset huge projected deficits due to the Charlie Victor pandemic. Back in April, state lawmakers adopted a $178 billion budget that required additional federal aid that has yet to materialize. In October, New York State's budget office estimated that the Charlie Victor 19 pandemic accounts for a $13.5 billion drop in state revenue from its February projections. New York is projecting an $8.7 billion deficit for the fiscal year that starts on April 1st. But according to David Friedfeld, Director of State Studies for the Citizens Budget Commission, a fiscal watchdog group, that figure could almost double, since it suggests that New York will find $8 billion in recurring savings in its current fiscal year. About 50% of New Yorkers' revenue comes from its personal income tax, which is slated to bring in an estimated $60 billion before refunds in both the current and upcoming fiscal years based on budget documents. In a statement, Senate Minority Leader Roberts said that New York is one of the highest taxed states in the nation. So is California. Ort, a Republican from Niagara County, explained that increasing taxes will result in the continuation of the exodus from the state. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I left California. Michael Kink, executive director of Strong Economy for All, a coalition of labor unions, commented that Cuomo needs to take an all-of-the-above approach to increasing revenue before approving to cuts. Kink added that Cuomo has landed firmly in reality. He noted that while tax hikes on New York's wealthiest on Wall Street and big corporations are crucial to resolving the budget crisis, federal funding can help, and that New York still needs real relief to address its deficit. And that article was on stupid.news by Zoe Sky. So let's pick this article apart. Not so much the article, but the story itself, right? So here's what I don't get. And I'm pretty sure that you guys are smart enough to figure, to have the same mindset as I am right now. So you got this guy Cuomo, right? And he shut down everything. He probably destroyed a lot of small businesses, like restaurants and bars out there that are never going to come back again. And we're probably talking, some of these restaurants and bars have probably been open from generation to generation, been handed down, and try to continue the legacy. But because of last year's events, they've shut down. And because of the tyrannical decision that this guy has made for his state, they probably shut it down. Hence, no more tax revenue for government, right? So, what happens? I guess in the state of New York, where it's still locked down, you can't do anything. And people want to get they want to continue on with their lives. They still have to provide for themselves, or they still have to provide for their families. Now, when your back is against the wall, you're going to get out of the situation you're in. And I'm sure that a lot of people have left the state of New York only because of this genius of a governor who is also has a lot of blood in his hands from the death of the Charlie Victor 19, right? Sending all of these old people into nursing homes, and it's a breeding ground for the Charlie Victor 19. So this guy, Cuomo, he looks like a gargoyle, dude. Like he looks like a legit gargoyle. That face of his. So now he's deciding to raise taxes on a state that have so many people, that a lot of people have left. And I said this earlier while reading because I couldn't help myself, but how does that even work? Like, you can raise it 1,000%, but if you don't have the people there to pay the taxes, how is that going to offset anything, right? So it doesn't make any sense. What you should be doing is reopening all the businesses. That's what you should be doing. But no. There's something about these Democrats that they don't understand the way economics work. Right? I mean, I don't have a degree. All I got is sense. And I can't call it common sense either, because let's face it, it ain't common anymore. Right? The education system has fully taken away common sense out of people. And now we're left with the younger generation who are educated so much about nothing. Yeah, and this is going to be off the article topic here, and more towards the youth who think that they know so much. Why don't you young people try living life? Because honestly, life is probably going to be the best teacher you have. Life will teach you a lot of things. Life will put you in situations that are not comfortable at all. And those are the moments that you should be embracing, because those are the turning points of your life. Yeah, it's off topic. It's way off topic. But it kind of aligns with this too, because this dude doesn't even make sense. And I'm talking about sense, right? What they used to call common sense. It ain't common anymore. The school system have dumbed the younger generation down. They purposely have done that. And this is strictly my opinion, what I'm about to say. My generation, Gen X, we're probably the last line of defense here. At the same time, our generation is what messed up these young kids. I think there's a 50-50 split on Gen X. You got really good people in Gen X, and you got really soft people in Gen X. Because honestly, overall, in our generation, we were the kids who were left at home to figure things out on our own. And when you grew up from that, you went to college, right? Or didn't, because I didn't. I took a few classes in college, but I didn't get a degree. You either went with what you were taught in school, or you went out there and you explored life and you lived it all. You lived life to the fullest, and you grasped every experience that you had. Right? Some of us were disciplined the right way. Corporal punishment is what we got. Some of us, not all of us. You see, the people of my generation, Gen X, the ones who were brought up the right way and still keep that tradition, we are the ones who are tired of all this stuff that's going on right now. And it is our children that that we're the ones that are telling them what's real out there. And then you got the other half of my generation who thought that corporal punishment was like one of the worst things ever. It's child abuse. Yeah, if you overdo it, it is, right? I agree with that. If you overdo it, it is. But there has to be a certain way and a certain point that you discipline kids to let them know that they can't do everything or anything they want. And it was my generation that was the last one. And it's not 100% of my generation either. I would say probably half of them they didn't follow through. And they became weak. And they produced these effed up kids who are now running the streets talking about Bravo Lima Mike. Trump is a racist. If you love the country, you're a racist. Just because you're white, you're a racist. That's the younger generation who is produced by us, Gen X. The misled Gen X. And I have a lot of pride in our generation. Because we got by ourselves. We were left at home. A lot of us came from broken families. The latchkey kids, right? Come home from school, no one's home, you're hungry, you make your own food, right? We learn how to survive on our own. We had cool music. F the system. Remember those times? But the other part of our generation, what the hell? What happened? You produce weak kids, entitled kids. You bought into this thing while you went to college thinking that you give more power to these children. No. Children have no say. Until they can get out the house and take care of themselves, they have no say in anything in a household. Our responsibility as parents is to lead these kids the right way. Make them humble too, because a lot of that is lacking. And part of the punishment, part of the corporal punishment was teaching them how to be humble as well. You don't disrespect. Remember? But no. A lot of people in my generation just let it go. They gave these video games and these iPads and these iPhones as automatic babysitters to their kids. Look what happened when you don't even supervise what they play with or what they watch or what they listen to. Look what happened. And I've said this before. Communication with your kids. Be involved in what they're learning in school. And I know this is going way off topic. But at the same time, do you see the intelligence level of who's running the state of New York? And do you see what kind of youth are out there right now protesting for something they don't even fully understand? Do you see the similarity in intelligence? I do. So even though it may be off topic, it's still kind of in the same line of the topic. So that was brought to you by Stupid.News, Zoe Sky. Great article. The story kind of pisses me off, but it's a great written article. Cuomo. Jeez, Mr. Gargoyle. All right. Now, the topic of discussion here. I'm going to the next article here, and this one's by Breitbart. And this has a lot to do with what's going on right now. This article was written today, January 11th, 2021. This one's by Breitbart, by Lucas Nolan. Title reads, Parler goes dark following Amazon Web Services suspension. Hence the censorship going on right now with people who do not agree with the deep state or Antifa or Bravo Lima Mike. Here we go. Social media platform Parler is now offline after Amazon Web Services suspended the site, claiming it lacks content moderation. Since when does free speech have to be moderated? Last I checked, we're in the United States of America, where our God-given right is freedom of speech, right? I don't know. This is one of the things that we have to fight for, people. And I don't know how much realer this can get for you to figure that out. Let me read. The Hill reports that social media website Parler has been taken offline after its hosting account was suspended by Amazon Web Services, which claimed that the site failed to adequately moderate content on its platform. In an email to Parler, Amazon stated, recently we've seen a steady increase in this violent content on your website, all of which violates our terms. It's clear that Parler does not have an effective process to comply with the AWS terms of services. The email added, it also seems that Parler is still trying to determine its position on content moderation. You remove some violent content when contacted by us or others, but not always through urgency. Parler CEO John Matsy said in a recent statement that this site could be offline for up to a week as it searches for a new web hosting provider. Speaking to Fox News early on Sunday, Matsy stated, it would put anybody out of business. I mean, this could destroy anybody. If they did this to any app, any company, it would completely destroy them. And we're going to try our best to get back online as quickly as possible. But we're having a lot of trouble because every vendor we talk to says they won't work with us because if Apple doesn't approve and Google doesn't approve, they won't. Parler has also been removed from the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Parler's Chief Policy Officer Amy Peikoff told Fox and Friends Weekend, we're not necessarily being singled out by those tech companies, but certainly by the people who have been putting pressure on them. And in fact, we think we're being set up in a lot of ways because in looking at some of the content, there are accounts that have been created 2 days ago and they have few pieces of content, and some of them are parodies of what you would think a right-wing insider of violence would be. Peikoff went on to explain what she referred to as a crucial question about the continued operation of Parler, stating, do we want all of the content that is posted online, every single piece, to be scanned for objectionable content, as they call it, 24/7? and also remove without due process if it's flagged by an algorithm, because that seems to be the standard that Parler is being told that we must adhere to. And that was the article. So let's break this down. Hold on for a moment. Let me see if there's more to this story. No. So, that was the article by Breitbart. Now, they've been zapping people left and right. And when I say they, I'm talking about these social media outlets. They have a big monopoly on this, right? So they control what kind of information goes out there. I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie 1984. I have. And this is very much what it is. This is exactly how the movie 1984 is. It's a scary world to live in if this is where we're heading to. It's a very scary world. They get to decide what could be said and what can't be said. They are violating the God-given rights that was given to us, we the people. And yes, they're God-given rights. We don't have our rights because of the Constitution. We have our rights because God gave it to us. Right? That's why I always tell you guys, build that relationship with God. He has given us such great things. Such great things. Freedom is one of them. They're all God-given rights. But this is scary, man. People in the Patriot movement are being zapped left and right. I had an issue with my Twitch channel last week where I couldn't log on. And I tried to log on multiple times until they finally blocked me out. I even tried to change my password. But apparently I tried to change my password too many times and I just got blocked out. So I had to make a backup channel called the Speak Uneasy 20 in Twitch. So for those of you who follow me and are on Twitch, my new username now is the Speak Uneasy 20. Because I think I don't know. I was watching the events of Patriots Day on the 6th on a couple of channels, and I was interacting on the chat, and I probably said a few things that Twitch didn't like, and they blocked. That's how I got blocked out of Twitch, I guess. I don't know. I'm not gonna take Twitch's word for what, I tried to contact their tech people there, but apparently I couldn't answer certain questions, and they said that they couldn't help me. So honestly, I'm not even going to believe what they say. I mean, Twitch is part of Amazon, right? So I just went around and just went ahead and made another profile. Hopefully I can start doing live streaming soon. I really want to get out there and do this. I want to do a video. Like, I want to be able to do a video stream of what my podcast is, because the theme of it is a bar theme, and I have that set up already. But unfortunately, because of my current employer and what I do, will greatly affect me financially. And I can't right now. This is all I can do for now. So, even though a lot of people are being zapped, I'm still willing to go out there and put my content out there, and I'm willing to fight the battle behind the mic, just like all these other patriots are doing with their shows. Big ups to all of them. They've encouraged me to do my own thing. All these patriots that I follow, X22 Report, SGT Report, quite frankly, Red Pill 78, Methods to Madness, Woke Society, Praying Medic, Jordan Sather. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I love what these guys are doing. Do I agree with them all the time? No. But that's the beauty of it. It's an open discussion. It's an open forum. I get to listen to how they think. In turn, I come up with my own ideas. That's the beauty of why an open forum like that is good, is because we're all able to put whatever we think out there and hopefully make things better with a bunch of our different ideas. I love this movement. I love it. I love God. I love my family. And I love this country. And I love those people that I follow as well. We have different ways of executing what needs to be said. So, big ups to all of them. Big ups. Love them all. Don't necessarily agree with them 100%, but nonetheless, I love them all. Now, I have here one of the executive orders that was issued by the president back in May 28th of last year. Okay? And this executive order is on preventing online censorship. I'm going to read the whole thing because I want people to understand. What this is supposed to be. This is supposed to be protecting people like myself and other broadcasters out there. Okay? And people are being zapped left and right. They're being zapped left and right. And it's important that we have to at least understand what's out there to protect broadcasters and even people who have social media out there that post things. So this one reads, Executive Order on Preventing Online Censorship, issued on May 28th, 2020. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1. Policy. Free speech is the bedrock of American democracy. We're not a democracy, man. Constitutional republic. Our founding fathers protected this sacred right with the First Amendment to the Constitution. The freedom to express and debate ideas is the foundation for all of our rights as a free people. In a country that has long cherished the freedom of expression, we cannot allow a limited number of online platforms to handpick the speech that Americans may access and convey on the internet. This practice is fundamentally un-American and anti-democratic. When large, powerful social media companies censor opinions with which they disagree, they exercise a dangerous power. They seize the functioning as passive bulletin boards and ought to be viewed and treated as content creators. The growth of online platforms in recent years raises important questions about applying the ideas of the First Amendment to modern communications technology. Today, many Americans follow the news, stay in touch with friends and family, and share their views on current events through social media and other online platforms. As a result, these platforms function in many ways as a 21st century equivalent to the public square. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube wield immense, if not unprecedented, power to shape the interpretation of public events, to censor, delete, or disappear information, and to control what, as president, I have made clear my commitment to free and open debate on the internet. Such debate is just as important online as it is in our universities, our town halls, and our homes. It is essential to sustaining our democracy. Online platforms are engaging in selective censorship that is harming our national discourse. Tens of thousands of Americans have reported, among other troubling behaviors, online platforms flagging content as inappropriate even though it does not violate any stated terms of service, making unannounced and unexplained changes to company policies that have the effect of disfavoring certain viewpoints, and deleting content and entire accounts with no warning, no rationale, and no recourse. Okay, you know what? Before I continue on with this article, I'm going to go ahead and take a break. This break is, well, it's needed because I've been blabbing. I've been blabbing and blabbing. So I'm going to take a break and I will be back. And now back to the show. So I'm going to continue on the executive order that was written. Twitter now selectively decides to place a warning label on certain tweets in a manner that clearly reflects political bias. As has been reported, Twitter seems never to have placed such a label on another politician's tweet. As recently as last week, Representative Adam Schiff was continuing to mislead his followers by peddling the long disapproved Russian collusion hoax, and Twitter did not flag those tweets. Unsurprisingly, its officer in charge of so-called site integrity has flaunted his political bias in his own tweets. At the same time, online platforms are invoking inconsistent, irrational, and groundless justifications to censor or otherwise restrict American speech here at home. Several online platforms are profiting from and promoting the aggression and disinformation spread by foreign governments like China. Of course. One United States company, for example, created a search engine for the Chinese Communist Party that would have blacklisted searches for human rights, hid data unfavorable to the Chinese Communist Party, and tracked users determined appropriate for surveillance. That does not surprise me at all. It also established research partnerships in China that provide direct benefits to the Chinese military. Other companies have accepted advertisements paid for by the Chinese government that spreads false information about China's mass imprisonment of religious minorities, thereby enabling these abuses of human rights. They have also amplified China's propaganda abroad, including by allowing Chinese government officials to use their platforms to spread misinformation regarding the origins of the Charlie Victor 19 pandemic and to undermine pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. As a nation, we must foster and protect diverse viewpoints in today's digital communications environment, where all Americans can and should have a voice. We must seek transparency and accountability from online platforms and encourage standards and tools to protect and preserve the integrity of and openness of American discourse and freedom of expression. Section 2. Protections against online censorship. Parenthetical small a. It is the policy of the United States to foster clear ground rules promoting free and open debate on the Internet. Prominent among the ground rules governing that debate is the immunity from liability created in Section 230, parenthetical small c, of the Communications Decency Act, Section 230, parenthetical c, small c rather, dot 47 U.S.C. 230, parenthetical small c. It is the policy of the United States that the scope of that immunity should be clarified. The immunity should not extend beyond its text and purpose to provide protection for those who support to provide users a forum for free and open speech, but in reality use their power over a vital means of communication to engage in deceptive or pretextual actions stifling free and open debate by censoring certain viewpoints. Section 230, parenthetical small c, was designed to address early court decisions holding that if an online platform restricted access to some content posted by others, it would thereby become a publisher of all the content posted on its site for a purpose of torts such as defamation. As the title of Section 230, parenthetical small c, makes clear, the provision provides limited liability protection to a provider of an interactive computer service such as an online platform that engages in Good Samaritan blocking of harmful content. In particular, the Congress sought to provide protections for online platforms that attempted to protect minors from harmful content and intended to ensure that such providers would not be discouraged from taking down harmful material. The provision was also intended to further the express vision of the Congress that the Internet is a forum for a true diversity of political discourse. 47 U.S.C. 230, parenthetical small a, parenthetical 3. The limited protections provided by the statute should be construed with these purposes in mind. In particular, subparagraph parenthetical small c, parenthetical 2, expressly addresses protections from civil liability and specifies that an interactive computer service may not be made liable on account of its decision in good faith to restrict access to content that it considers it to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable. It is the policy of the United States to ensure that, to the maximum extent permissible under the law, this provision is not distorted to provide liability protection for online platforms that, far from acting in good faith to remove objectionable content, instead engage in deceptive or pretextual action, often contrary to their stated terms of service, to stifle viewpoints with which they disagree. Section 230 was not intended to allow a handful of companies to grow into titans, controlling vital avenues for our national discourse under the guise of promoting open forums for debate, and then to provide those behemoths blanket immunity when they use their power to censor content and silence viewpoints that they dislike. With an interactive computer service provider removes or restricts access to content and its action do not meet the criteria of subparagraph parenthetical small c, parenthetical 2, parenthetical capital A, it is engaged in editorial conduct. It is the policy of the United States that such a provider should probably lose the limited liability shield of subparagraph parenthetical small c, parenthetical 2, parenthetical capital A, and be exposed to liability like any traditional editor and publisher that is not an online provider. Parenthetical small b, to advance the policy described in subsection parenthetical small a of this section. All executive departments and agencies should ensure that their application of section 230 parenthetical small c properly reflects the narrow purpose of the section and take all appropriate actions in this regard. In addition, within 60 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Commerce, in consultation with the Attorney General and acting through the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, shall file a petition for rulemaking with the Federal Communications Commission, requesting that the FCC expeditiously propose regulations to clarify. Small parenthetical I, the interaction between subparagraphs parenthetical small c, parenthetical 1, and parenthetical small c, parenthetical 2 of section 230. In particular, to clarify and determine the circumstances under which a provider of an active computer service that restricts access to content in a manner not specifically protected by subparagraph parenthetical small c, parenthetical 2, parenthetical capital A, may also not be able to claim protection under subparagraph parenthetical small c, parenthetical 1, which merely states that a provider shall not be treated as a publisher or speaker for making third-party content available and does not address the provider's responsibility for its own editorial decisions. Parenthetical small I, the conditions under which an action restricting access to or availability of material is not taken in good faith within the meaning of subparagraph parenthetical small c, parenthetical 2, parenthetical capital A of section 230, particularly whether actions can be taken in good faith if they are, parenthetical capital A, deceptive, pretextual, or inconsistent with a provider's terms of service, or parenthetical capital B, taken after failing to provide adequate notice, reasoned explanation, or a meaningful opportunity to be heard, and parenthetical small III, any other proposed regulations of the NTIA concludes may be appropriate to advance the policy described in subsection parenthetical small a of this section. I'm sorry about all this stuff. I'm reading this word by word because I want you people to understand. I want you to understand what this executive order means. And it's probably a nerdy thing. You have to be really into it, but you have to see the importance of how this should be protecting free speech. Okay? So please bear with me. I got about a couple more pages I got about 2 to 2.5, about 3 pages more. Section 3, protecting federal taxpayer dollars from financing online platforms that restrict free speech. Parenthetical small a, the head of each executive department and agency shall review its agency's federal spending on advertising and marketing paid to online platforms. Such review shall include the amount of money spent, the online platforms that receive federal dollars, and the statutory authorities available to restrict their receipt of advertising dollars. Parenthetical small b, within 30 days of the date of this order, the head of each agency shall report its findings to the Director of the Office of Management and Budget. Parenthetical small c, the Department of Justice shall review the viewpoint-based speech restrictions imposed by each online platform identified in the report described in subsection parenthetical small b of this section, and assess whether any online platforms are problematic vehicles for government speech due to viewpoint discrimination, deception to consumers, or other bad practices. Section 4. Federal review of unfair or deceptive acts or practices. Parenthetical small a. It is the policy of the United States that large online platforms such as Twitter and Facebook, as the critical means of promoting the free flow of speech and ideas today, should not restrict protected speech. The Supreme Court has noted that social media sites, as the modern public square, can provide perhaps the most powerful mechanisms available to a private citizen to make his or her voice heard. Packingham versus North Carolina, 137 S.CT.1730 1737 back in 2017. I guess that's a case. What do you call it? It was some kind of case. Sorry. Communication through these channels has become important for meaningful participation in American democracy, including to petition elected leaders. These sites are providing an important forum to the public for others to engage in free expression and debate. CF Pruneyard Shopping Center versus Robbins, 447 U.S. 74, 85 through 89 in 1980. Case law. That's what they are. They're case law. These were case laws. Parenthetical small b. In May of 2019, the White House launched a tech bias reporting tool to allow Americans to report incidents of online censorship. In just weeks, the White House received over 16,000 complaints of online platforms censoring or otherwise taking action against users based on their political viewpoints. Wow. The White House will submit such complaints received to the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission. Parenthetical small c. The FTC shall consider taking action, as appropriate and consistent with applicable law, to prohibit unfair or deceptive acts or practices in or affecting commerce, pursuant to Section 45 of Title 15, United States Code. Such unfair or deceptive acts or practice may include practices by entities covered by Section 230 that restrict speech in ways that do not align with those entities. Public representation about those practices. We're almost done, people. Bear with me. Parenthetical small d. For large online platforms that are vast arenas for public debate, including the social media platform Twitter, the FTC shall also consist with its legal authority, consider whether complaints allege violations of law that implicate the policies set forth in Section 4, parenthetical small a of this order. The FTC shall consider developing a report describing such complaints and making the report publicly available consistent with applicable law. Section 5. State review of unfair or deceptive acts or practices and anti-discrimination laws. Parenthetical small a. The Attorney General shall establish a working group regarding the potential of enforcement of the state statutes that prohibit online platforms from engaging in unfair or deceptive acts or practices. The working group shall also develop model legislation for consideration by legislature in state where existing statutes do not protect Americans from such unfair and deceptive acts and practices. The working group shall invite state attorneys general for discussion and consultation, as appropriate and consistent with applicable law. Parenthetical small b. Complaints described in Section 4, parenthetical small b, of this order will be shared with the working group consistent with applicable law. And working group shall also collect publicly available information regarding the following. Parenthetical small I. Increase scrutiny of users based on the other users they choose to follow or their interaction with other users. Parenthetical small I. Algorithms to suppress content or users based on indications of political alignment or viewpoint. Parenthetical small I. Differential policies allowing for otherwise impermissible behavior when committed by accounts associated with the Chinese Communist Party or other anti-democratic associations with governments. Parenthetical small V. Relevance on third parties, including contractors, media organizations, and individuals with indicia of bias to review content. And parenthetical small v. Acts that limit the ability of users with particular viewpoints to earn money on the platform compared with other users similarly situated. Last page, people, last page. Bear with me. Stay awake. Section 6, legislation. The Attorney General shall develop a proposal for federal legislation that would be useful to promote the policy objectives of this order. Section 7, definition. For purposes of this order, the term online platform means any website or application that allows users to create and share content or engage in social networking or any general search engine. Section 8, general provisions, parenthetical small a. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect, parenthetical small I, the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof, or parenthetical small I, the functions of the director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. Parenthetical small b. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. Parenthetical small c. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit substantive or procedural enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. Whew. Okay, I read all that. Now, I just wanted to let you guys know the reason for me to read that is that you have a clear understanding of this executive order. As we are being zapped left and right, people, free thinkers are being zapped left and right. So I had to read that verbatim so you would understand. And if you're a content creator, you can look back and listen to that. And I've got this straight from the whitehouse.gov. Okay. So it's going to be an interesting day because things have been ever since after the 6th, things have been happening. We may not be able to see what's going on as patriots. We also listen to people's platforms and try to get the news, we try to get the juice of what's going on a daily basis. But the truth of the matter is we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. It doesn't matter who you are. Okay? Unless you're unless you're part of this thing that's going on. And I don't think that people who are involved with this operation will be listening to. I mean, yeah, they could be listening to platforms all over, but they know what's going on, at least in their part of what they're involved in. So the only thing we can do is, just pay attention and keep our ears open and just listen to what may happen. But we do know that there are things happening behind closed doors. Okay? We have been in a war for a very long time with this invisible enemy. And the way that we have been in war is a very unconventional way that has been going on. Because this is not a upfront battle where people are shooting each other on the streets or, something to that effect. This is a very, very, it's a psychological war, right? Because the people are being swayed to thinking one way or another. So this is a very complex way of fighting a battle. If you ask me, this is a very intelligent way of fighting a battle because you get more. It's a more difficult battle to fight because of it. It's very psychological. It gets down. It charges people emotionally too. So, I don't have any juice of what's going on. I listen to every other broadcaster out there who I follow on these social media platforms, and I watch their shows and I listen and I try to get what I can. I talk to friends of mine. We exchange what we know. But like I said, the truth of the matter is we really don't know. Only the people involved in this operation know what's going on. So I'm gonna end the show, and I'm gonna keep on paying attention to what's going on. When I took my break, I was listening to the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in his I guess it was an interview, a quasi interview on VOA. There wasn't really much telling things there, but I don't know how to decipher these things. I never went to college, so my so-called education is very limited. But every day, I try to educate. I try to educate myself into expanding how I think. So I have nothing for you people today. I did do my articles, my random read. The most important thing I did today here was reading this executive order, because we need to understand the preventing of the online censorship. This is very important because like I said, all of us are being zapped left and right just for thinking differently. And they're trying to change this country into communist China, where you'll be re-educated. So, as I end every show, and I will see you again next week. And next week might be a very interesting podcast. I'm thinking of having a buddy of mine co-host, and we're just gonna chill and kick back and have a discussion. Just kind of like shooting the what with each other. Just talking regular. As two guys who love this country, and as two guys who notice the things that are going on. But at the same time, plans can change because we're getting very close to the 20th. And this week is supposed to be a very, very, it's supposed to be one of those weeks that we have to observe very carefully, according to patriots. So, as I end every show, with that being said,
the bar is now closed.
I can't help but wonder I'm under a spell. It's more than a passing notion. I've never fallen with such devotion. I can't help but wonder if it's only a dream. Am I naive or can I believe that things are really as they seem? Can anyone explain it? How to understand what's true? I know I just can't tame it. Whenever I'm with you, I can't help but wonder if you wonder about me. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might be. Can anyone explain it? How to understand what's true? I know I just can't take it. Whenever I'm with you, but wonder if you wonder about me. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might be. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might be.